Now let's move on to the markets. We saw the Nigerian stock exchange all-share index closed today at 34,339. Now that's down 0.61%. There were gains seen in Okomo Oil, Presco, Dangote Cement. There's lots of activity once again in the banking sector and the likes of Zenith, FCMB, Sterling Bank, and Wema. Now joining me to discuss that market is Abiola Razak. As I said, he's the team lead for research at UBA Capital. Abiola, it will be good for us to start by focusing on some of the results that we've seen from the bank. I mean, so far we've not seen any negative surprises. However, as you know, investors do invest on the future performance of banks. So I guess the big question is, how strong will earnings be going forward, especially when you consider some of the rule changes that may put a downward pressure on bank earnings going forward? Of course, we're talking about the gradual phasing out of commissions on transaction and removal of ATM charges.
Thank you very much, Didi. I quite agree with you. There are headwinds for the banking industry earnings going forward in 2013 and beyond. But I think it's very important that we measure the likely impact of those pressure points. And I will start with the issue of COT, which of course by 2016 will actually be removed. Starting from 2010, the restriction is that COT should be maximum of 3 naira per mil. I think we need to measure what is the current earnings of banks from COT. If we're able to do that, of course, we can measure the impact. Currently now, banks on the average, about 7% of their gross earnings actually come from COT, and that's about 20% of their non-interest income. Meaning that if COT is no longer there by 2016, for instance, we're talking about 7% of the earnings of the banks going on the water. But of course, we also need to focus on the core fundamentals of Nigerian banking industry in terms of the underpenetration. And that's why for me, even though there are pressures to margins going forward, credit spread will compress, and of course, margins will thin for that. But the most important thing is for us to be able to look into the growth prospects of the Nigerian banking industry. And I think that will actually compensate for the shrinking margins that we expect.
But Biola, what banks do you think will be most hit by these moves?
Interestingly, the impact will actually be moderate across all the banks. For me, one thing we've actually done is to synthesize COT to all the banks' earnings. The top tier banks are actually going to be the most affected because, of course, they generate more COTs because they've got more accounts. Don't forget, COTs are actually a function of the transaction volumes on the demand and current accounts. Meaning that if there is no longer COT, definitely those top tier banks that actually account for the large bulk of the CASA in the market will actually see some pressure on their earnings. But of course, like I said earlier, the impact is going to be moderate on all the banks in Nigeria. And of course, the growth expectation will actually compensate for that compression in margins and the COT removers. Okay,
but I mean, how do you think those banks will actually react to this? I mean, obviously, the obvious option is to grow the loan book, but obviously, I mean, how realistic is that considering the risks that are associated with that?
I agree with you perfectly. The risk of growing loan book significantly is also there. But you also don't forget the fact that there are quite a number of reforms that are happening in Nigeria, a lot of M&A opportunities, and I'll just mention, for instance, the case of Petrobras, that is actually selling about $5 billion of their assets in Nigeria to be able to fund their local operations in Brazil. So $5 billion, for instance, that's about close to about 800 billion naira. A good number of that, I expect not less than 50–60% of that will actually be sourced locally by the acquirers of those assets, given the fact that we actually expect those assets to be sold to local players. That's for the oil and gas industry. And of course, when you go to the agricultural space, when you go to the consumer space, a lot of M&As over the last 2 years, and of course, we expect similar trend to continue into 2013 and 2014. So of course, the opportunities are there to create quality assets. And of course, in as much as we see a more accommodative monetary policy environment, and if rates do come down a little, definitely you will be able to create quality assets. And of course, what we actually measure currently now is the repayment ability of the obligors in the market, which I think currently now cash flows of most obligors in the market are strong. And of course, if some of the reforms that we expect from the fiscal end do come true, definitely that would also impact positively on the ability of the obligors in the market to pay. And we'll see more penetration of the SME space by the banking industry.
At the same time, I know a lot of people are wondering why the central bank is closing this window for easy money. I mean, of course, many people have called for more creativity from banks. What do you think?
I agree with you perfectly. Yes, the answer is yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because the CBN also have to consider the cost of doing business for the banks in Nigeria. Say, for instance, an average bank in South Africa or Ghana may actually not worry to have 2 generator sets at every business locations. In Nigeria, every bank has 2 generator sets. You've got banks fixing other sources of energy like inverters. Some banks are even considering using solar if possible in the northern part of the country. So you've got to consider this cost of doing business in the country. But at the same time, CBN is also after increasing the level of banking penetration in the country, and of course removal of COT, and also don't forget the increase in savings rate, which of course the CBN has now pegged to a minimum of 30% of the MPR, which MPR at 12% implies savings rate will actually be around 3.6% from April 1st, 2013. That actually shows that the CBN is more interested in bridging the gap between prime lending rates and the savings rate, and at the same time also increasing penetration by encouraging savings in the economy.
However, in your view, what banks do you feel are best positioned to weather that storm?
Interestingly, all the banks for me are actually beginning to prepare for that even before the policy was released. Don't forget the fact that CBN, before releasing that bank charges regulation, has actually negotiated and consulted with all the stakeholders, bankers inclusive. Don't forget, it was also a discussion at the last bankers committee meeting. So I think banks are well prepared for that, and that's why you actually see most of them beginning to look more into the retail end of the market in terms of generating deposit and also creating assets within the commercial space. And going forward, you see more of retail lending. In the interim, retail lending might not be interesting for the banks because they still want to learn some lessons in the commercial space before moving down. But of course, we expect them to move down the ladder where, of course, for me, I think the sweet spot is actually in that bottom of the pyramid.
Viola, let's move on to company results. We saw, of course, Presco revenue up, profit after tax up, full-year dividend of ‘1 per share declared. That stock has gained 10%. I know it lost 10% before the results came out, but the 10% has been gained. It'd be good to know your thoughts on the Presco results and the market reaction.
The Presco results are quite impressive. If you take a look at Presco yesterday, for instance, they lost about 9.9%. And of course, on the release of that result, the stock has actually recovered 10% today. And I still expect some gains going forward. There's still scope, there's still room for growth in Presco share price going forward at 24.75. And I think the interesting thing you have to notice in the results is the fact that that's actually the benefits of the investment they've made in the past. Remember very well, Presco currently just about 70% of their plantation is actually matured, meaning that there's still going to be more plantations. As more plantations mature, revenues will continue to grow. And also don't forget the fact that Presco has actually concluded the concession of about additional 7,000 hectares of land in Edo State, and that's for their Ologbo project in Edo State. And of course, once that comes on board, the benefit of further increasing their revenues will actually begin to show in terms of their performance going forward. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, just about 70% of their plantation is matured now. Don't forget, about an average of 4 years for the maturity of a typical oil palm plantation. So of course, as more and more plantations mature, you see more and more revenues going forward into the future.
Biola, now quickly still in that agricultural sector, Okomu Oil, I think that stock, I believe, has gained about 30% since the dividend was declared last week, of course, ₦7 per share. That sector, as I pointed out, is the best performing sector last quarter. Now, with the results that we're seeing from Presco, could investors expect a similar performance in this sector in this quarter, in quarter two?
I do believe strongly in the fundamentals of the agricultural space, but nonetheless, we need to actually be able to differentiate the major players from the minor players. And what I mean by that is the fact that you actually shouldn't just play on the agricultural space because Okomu and Presco are doing well. We need to look at the underlying fundamentals of those businesses. For me, Okomu and Presco, they've been able to stand their feet within their space, which of course is oil palm plantation and of course refinery of oil palm, crude palm kernel oil, and of course crude palm kernel cake. For me, that space is quite interesting. Before now, we've seen some sort of glut in the market coming from the as a result of dumping from Malaysia and some other Asian countries that actually export their vegetable oil to Nigeria. Yes, there's still importation is still very, very on the high side in Nigeria in terms of vegetable oil. But of course, what you notice that the customer has been more proactive in terms of securing the borders in the recent time. And of course, once we see improvement in terms of tightening the border and of course regulations towards the agricultural space, you see more opportunities for the likes of Okomo and of course Presco, and that's why you see them investing more and more in their infrastructures and of course increasing their oil palm plantations.